The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 98. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of successful women finding their inner journey to self-confidence 5 days a week. Subscribe to our newsletter by visiting thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan. And today I have a special lady all the way from San Francisco. She is an entrepreneur and she's here today to share her story. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Cherry Fajardo. Cherry, how are you doing today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to our listeners.
Hi there, Sheena. First of all, I would like to thank you for having me. It's such an honor and a pleasure. Thank you. I'm actually born and raised in Manila City in the Philippines, and both my parents were teachers by profession. Well, my dad he changed his career and he went into military for the most part of his career until he actually passed away at a very young age, 48, unfortunately. And I still very much miss him, to this very day. And my mom too, although she was, as I said, a teacher by profession, she also changed her career, and I think that's what I got from her. As I was growing up, I actually see her being a businesswoman herself. So she's actually a retired entrepreneur. And in college, I have a degree in physical therapy. Unfortunately, I didn't really use that ever. In the course of my career, it's only because I realized that it's not really my dream career. And so my college days, or, those 5 years in college was one of the longest years of my life. I stayed in college just to be able to bring home a diploma to my parents. And I think that's just fair because they sent me to school. But anyway, after college, I tried several industry actually. And I realized that I want to become like my mom, an entrepreneur. So I put up my own business. I started with wholesale clothing and accessories. And actually, that's one of the highlights of my life because I started, at a very young age. I was, I think, in my early 20s. And it actually taught me a lot of things, what I actually know now in my life, which I hope to share with you later. During the time, my father actually passed away, and that was a very difficult time for me because I was very, very young and I really don't understand what death is all about. I think it was only during the time that I was forced to actually ask the question, what is it all about? What is life all about? Is death part of life? And I felt that I have to actually seek the meaning of life, and so I left, the Philippines, and I actually went abroad because I wanted to find myself, and living abroad actually. And when I say abroad, that's in Switzerland. I went there actually, as a student to learn German, but that opened a door of opportunity for me, and that's where I actually found my dream career in corporate finance. And for a long time whilst I was in Switzerland, that's what I've been actually doing. And it taught me a lot of things, about myself, about life. And up to this very day, I think that has been my greatest teacher, actually, that experience of, just going out there and finding myself. Whilst I was there, I had a little bit of how do you call this, emotional breakdown, and if I could, I think it's the first time that I'm actually sharing this one, and I can't believe that, I feel very comfortable to share that now. I actually went into some kind of a depression, there was a time in my life where, I was actually at rock bottom. But looking back, I'm actually very thankful that I went through that with grace, because just being able to get out of it, taught me again a lot of lessons in my life, and really it made me a stronger person. And so now I got into financial services. the reason for that is because I just love money, And for me, I'm always fascinated by how actually people manage their money. And I actually like to help a lot of people find that financial security. And very recently, of course, I actually got into online marketing and I absolutely love it. I didn't know what it was all about before, but now that I've been doing the business for not a long time, but I just love it. I think I love the most the connection that I'm actually building, from this online business, such as with yourself. So yeah, basically that's just something about myself.
It's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Cherry. And what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
You know what? I actually have few, but I actually picked this one. So it's from Rhonda Hendricks, and it goes like this: the less time I care about others' opinions, the more I am free to be me. And I picked that one because I resonate to that very much. And the reason for that, because for a long, long time before I actually found my self confidence, I practically live my life keeping up appearances or trying to please other people. And I realized that that's not the way to actually live your life according to other people's opinions or pleasing other people just to make them happy and then forgetting yourself. And that's not just the way to do it. And certainly it's not going to help you build that confidence that you need, which is critical actually if you want to make it through life. So that is my favorite self-confidence quote that I would like to share.
Awesome, and I love that quote. And it's true, especially being of Asian culture. We're always Asian women are always told to please others, make sure everyone is okay before you take care of yourself, and that can really hurt us in the end too. So thanks for sharing that. And in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
Okay, for me, self-confidence really is really knowing who you are. Okay, it's what is within you. That's where actually for me self-confidence actually starts, knowing who you really are, and that includes also your flaws, your imperfections, and actually that's where you need to focus on, because just knowing and embracing your imperfections, it actually motivates you to become a better person, right? And as you go through that process, that's how you actually build your self-confidence. And at least that's what had happened to me. When I actually started embracing who I am, good or bad, that's when I start to recognize and acknowledge myself. And just everything flows from there. And also, not just within me, but also the surroundings, the people around me, respond to that as well. So if you know how to acknowledge yourself, then everything else will follow. So you don't have to go on pleasing other people anymore, because you want to be seen as you are. So knowing who you are, think and feel and act as you are, and just, simply being you, really.
I love it. Thanks for sharing that. And it's true, right? I mean, you have to accept your flaws as well, because it makes you who you are, and it's a part of you. It's, it's a beautiful thing. Thanks for sharing that. And, what was your life like before the discovery of self-confidence?
I was actually thinking about that a lot, like when did I actually discover self-confidence? But I remember prior to that, I think, as you said earlier, growing up in an Asian culture, I think that, well, I have to be careful here with my words, There is nothing wrong with my culture that I grew up in. It's just that, it's very different. It's more conservative, right? I was actually raised very, very conservative. And then also as a child, I was very asthmatic. And that already didn't actually help me, open up. Because I just actually feel that it hindered me from developing relationship with other people, or just maybe showing myself out there, or just really trying to discover what my abilities are, because I'm just sick all the time. And also in terms of our culture, as you said, we were not not only that it's important for us that we focus so much on what other people will say, but also, as a child, you're just always waiting to be told, what to do next, right? So at least that's, the kind of culture that I grew up in. And that kind of like limit me from like thinking further or thinking outside of the box. And as a child, I carried that with me through adult life, actually, I realized. And that was such a long, long time, actually, to not have that self-confidence, because it affected me the most when I actually started having relationships, okay? And I just feel that, I couldn't defend myself. I didn't have a voice. Literally, if I want to explain myself, even if I want to speak out, I couldn't. The words are there, but I just couldn't do it because I'm not confident enough. So can you imagine, if I actually look back now and thinking of, those times, I just can't believe that I was actually in that situation. That I couldn't even express myself, my feelings, my thoughts. I feel like, there is a jail within me. So that's how I was, before I actually discovered self-confidence. And, I hope that, for anybody who's actually listening, I hope that if you could resonate to me feeling that way, and I believe a lot of people do, especially women, I really urge you to get out of that jail. It's a jail that, you actually put around you. Nobody is doing that to you. You have to get out of it. It's really all up to you how to do that.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And yeah, it's so true, right? We've been trained since we were kids. I remember being in the Philippines and, I failed kindergarten because I colored outside the lines, right? And, something that small can really affect someone's perception because it's like, oh, I can't color outside the lines because it's wrong. And if I step outside the lines, then people are going to think something's wrong with me, right? And nobody realizes these small little things that you teach kids or teach other people can make a huge impact on your life. So, thanks for sharing that. And what was that time in your life when you realized, you didn't always have to please people, that you can be your own person, you were starting to get your self-confidence?
Actually, it took me a long, long time to realize that. There was not one aha moment, but I think it's just really, I think got very tired of not being able to express myself, just being repressed, I got very exhausted of that. And I actually started during this time, when I was trying to find myself, and this is when I was already abroad by myself. I actually realized that it doesn't have to be that way, that if I want that to change, the change has to come from me. Because how I actually want to be treated by other people, it's all up to me. And if there is one person actually that I could think of right now that really helped me with that change is when I found my first job in Switzerland, and I was actually working with a pool of women. We are like personal assistants to upper management, so directors and CEOs and all that. And our director happens to be a Swiss, he's Swiss and also French, He is very, I must say, I think he's very sensitive to me, especially my culture actually. He seemed, and I think I'm the only Asian, in that department at the time. And one day he actually called me in and he said to me, Cherry, I have to tell you something. I want you to remember, he said, that you are in Switzerland now, you are not in the Philippines. That's what he told me. And here, it's important that you assert yourself. You can say something. And that's what you have to do. And I didn't know why he told me that, but I actually appreciated it because it made me really reflect on how I actually see myself, right? And from then on, I think, in everything that I do, I make actually sure that I actually consider first, okay, how do I feel? What do I think about it? Instead of like thinking, or what will others say? What will others feel? And that's why for me, coming actually to Switzerland or living abroad, that just really opened, not just a door of opportunity for me in terms of career, but really just to blossom into, another human being. It feels like a rebirth, actually. I was actually a very, very different person, and I just started to see life in a different way. And I realized that the one thing that self-confidence actually taught me is that I can actually do anything or accomplish anything that I set my heart into. And I just need to focus really on, how I feel and what I think about it. And it doesn't matter, what other people think or feel, as long as, I'm not hurting anyone.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And, what's your life like now after that?
Well, I must tell you, I started doing things ever since, I developed that confidence, or I found that confidence in me. I'm just actually more enthusiastic, eager to learn. I'm always learning. I'm always trying things, right? And it just makes me actually happier, because then I feel that nothing is actually stopping me from doing things that I like to do, especially, my passion. And that's just really very fulfilling. And that's how I want to live my life, for the rest of my life, actually. And that's how I actually want, or I'm raising now my child. Very, very different from the way that I was actually raised, right? And for me, that's very, very important, because motherhood for me, is, I think, if you consider it as a profession, I think it's one of the most challenging, right? And that's why now, I try to actually, the one thing that I try to, my daughter to recognize is self-confidence. And I realize that if you do that, you then actually teach her how to be independent, because she's confident enough about herself. And I see that now, and she's actually 5 years old. And yeah, so this is how I am now. I must say that, I'm very, very different from who I was before. I just always look forward, and I know that I can accomplish anything, if I just really set my heart into it.
Thank you. Well, that's great, and I'm glad that you're able to set an example for your daughter as well. Cherry, to our listeners, they're probably in their own journey. They're listening to your episode. They want to know, how can they also, increase their self-confidence? What would be that one tip you would give to them?
Well, okay. I think, to find self-confidence, it doesn't matter at what stage you are in your life. It's never too late to find your self-confidence. But you have to seek it within you. For knowing who you really are is the key that will open that road to self-discovery and self-awareness. And during those moments that you slowly but surely build your self-confidence. So make time for yourself. Take the time to do the things that you like to do. That's self-discovery. That's how you actually become more aware of yourself. And then just learn how to slow down, you don't have to do a lot of things all at the same time. Just take the time to do things, to know more about things, And, the one thing that really helped me a lot is meditating regularly as well. So I think those are just the few things that I would like to share as tips, for those who are wanting to find their confidence.
Thank you. And those are great tips. I believe also meditation is a great way to calm yourself, have more clarity, and become more confident. So thanks for sharing that. And, if our listeners want to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yes, well, I'd like to invite everyone to check out my personal blog. It's at www.thewealthyfabpreneur.com. And you can also check out my Facebook fan pages. That's, I have one, Cherry Fajardo, for my online marketing. And for my financial services, I really encourage you to check that one out, because it's just full of tips, on financial planning, and it's brought to you by Cherry Fajardo. And also, you can follow us, me and my family in Instagram, and it's Fun with the Fajardos. I hope to see you there, guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that, Cherry. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Cherry, you can also head on over to thetaoofselfconfidence.com and search for Cherry's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I just want to thank Cherry for taking the time to share her story. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheena, and what, can I just say something? I'd really like to thank you for coming up with this concept, with this program, because I think it's actually conveying a very important message out there, especially to women, around the world. And I think it's a very important message. And thank you for that, Sheena, you're doing such a great job. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I just really wanted a platform for women to start believing in themselves again. So I'm really, I'm just really grateful that I can be able to do this, be able to create something that women can be inspired to listen to. So, listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll catch you later. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Check out our resources to help you jumpstart your inner journey to self-confidence by visiting thetaoofselfconfidence.com.